For a long time, I thought that the main thing that was stopping me from achieving some results that I want was my laziness, or low discipline, or maybe lack of willpower. But the more I looked into my life, the more I realized that the problem was different. And in reality, it was overthinking. And not just overthinking as some annoying habit, but something that was giving me some sort of relief. Something that going through this process of thinking, it felt like, okay, I'm doing something, you know, I'm thinking, so I'm doing something, so I'm being productive. But at the same time, I just felt stuck. You know, all this overthinking thing, it was keeping me stuck at the same place over and over again. So yeah, the more I started looking into that, the more I realized, oh, okay, that's actually an addiction. Overthinking is basically an addiction, and that thing, it just blew my mind. Because, you know, I always struggled with some sort of addictions like TikToks, I mean content, food, porn, whatsoever. And they all have the same mechanism. You're doing something in order to feel better, but you ain't gonna have any results out of that behavior, because it's addictive behavior. And once I stumbled upon this video and I realized, oh, overthinking is actually an addiction. It works basically like an addiction. You're doing something in order to get some relief, and later, this relief, you have to do more of that thing to get this relief again. So I thought how it actually works in case of overthinking. How this addiction, in every other addiction, there is a reward and there is a withdrawal. But here it's actually a bit mixed up, because the withdrawal comes first. The withdrawal is anxiety, and the reward is the absence of one. So yeah, basically it works like that. It's just some trash thoughts when you're trying to predict every other outcome in order to feel safer, in order to control everything. And that's, I don't know, it felt so easy to understand this. You know, I mean, I got such a relief when I actually understood that, okay, I don't really have to go through this process every time, because, you know, once I start getting into this loop, I cannot come back. I mean, I can, but that's gonna be real difficult. And that's just how any other addiction works. You know, as for example, there is a sugar addiction. And for a long time, I was not realizing that I'm addicted to sugary things, and that all of those sweets and everything like that, I'm not eating that because, you know, I want to eat that. I'm eating that just because I'm addicted to that. So I ask myself, what if I ain't gonna buy all that sweets? What if just, you know, I won't have an easy access to that sugar? Oh, fuck. To that sugar. And like, I stopped buying all the candies and stuff. And like, I realized, oh, if I don't have that at home, I don't really want to eat that, you know? It's like the same as any other substance, like coughing, nicotine, or maybe even drugs. If you don't really have an easy access to that thing, you ain't gonna have this need to consume that stuff. And all those substances that provide those addictions, you know, it's kind of easy to get rid of them. It's, I mean, the easiest type of addictions to get rid of, the extrinsic one, because that's basically it. You just gotta stop buying that stuff. You gotta stop consuming it. I mean, I'm not saying you have to restrict yourself, but that's basically it. That's how you get rid of most of the extrinsic addictions. I mean, we're not taking into account like some stuff like heroin, cocaine. That's it's probably not that easy, but still, white knuckling helps. And yeah, that's the way how you can get rid of those addictions. And at the same time, there is another type of addictions, the intrinsic ones, like porn, TikTok, masturbation. I mean, masturbation, porn, basically the same, but you got what I'm saying. Those addictions, they're quite way more difficult to handle, you know, because it's not something that you can just avoid. It's something that is, you have such an easy access to those things, and like restricting yourself from them feels almost impossible. Like, imagine restricting yourself from masturbation. You only have to do anything in order just to have the dopamine spike from doing that, you know? Like, when we're talking about alcohol or nicotine, you gotta spend some money for that. You gotta go somewhere to the liquor store, or yeah, just you have to buy that stuff. You have to consume it. It takes some time. But with TikTok, I mean, not only TikTok, but any kind of like chunk content, it doesn't really necessarily have to be chunk content. It has to be some content that you think provides you some value. And that is something that's actually way more difficult to get rid of, because I ain't gonna tell you how it works, you know, how this loop of constant dopamine works, how you're treating your anxiety and how you're messing up your brain. But like, overall, you know, that's bad. You know, that TikTok, that porn, it's harmful. I mean, the thing with all of those addictions, like, it may seem not that harmful, you know, if you're doing that occasionally, if you're doing that from time to time, you're gonna keep thinking, okay, that's not so bad. That's not so bad, and I know that I can quit anytime. So what I was trying to say is that extrinsic addictions are top level addictions. If you can handle them, you can move on to the intrinsic addictions. They're like more difficult to handle, but still possible. And these two, extrinsic and intrinsic addictions, the thing is, you can realize that those are actual addictions. Even if you're doing them, even if you're in this constant loop of scrolling your For You page or watching porn whatsoever, you still know, deep inside you know that that is something harmful. That is something that provides zero value to you. That is something that you're doing just to escape the reality. But something that you might not even realize is that there is actually even a deeper level addiction that you might not even notice that you're doing that. You might not even like think about that it could be addiction. That is something that you might think, oh, that's the way how I act. That's just the way I exist. That's just who I am. And that is something that you won't able to see as an addiction unless someone's gonna straight tell you like, man, that's an addiction and here's why. So at the beginning, I was talking about overthinking. And that shit is like, it's cruel, for real, because you can't escape thinking, okay? You can't escape that shit, because, I mean, you need it. And overthinking makes it like, it's actually a thinking in disguise. And what I mean by that is you basically have two different thinking processes. And to separate them is not that easy of a job. So here's the difference between thinking and overthinking. The first one, just a normal thinking, gonna result in some action. So you're not gonna keep stuck in this loop. You're gonna think about something. Okay, I'm gonna record a Minecraft video. I'm gonna record that. I'm gonna do that. Oh, in order for this video to be good, I'm gonna do that. Or maybe this. You got what I'm saying. The overthinking process is gonna lead you to more questions. You know, it's not gonna lead you to some deed. It's not gonna lead you to some action. It's gonna be like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, is it gonna work out or not? Oh, wait, what if it ain't gonna work out? What if this one what if is changing everything? It's just like that what if could bring you up to any like consequence. You could think of any other. You're trying to predict the future. That's the thing. You are not able to predict any future. You can think about it, right? You can think about some consequences of your actions, but in reality, it's always going to be different. It's always going to be not like what you think it's going to be. So you're just trying to control the outcomes. And that shit, I'm not saying that's killing your how you call that shit, nervous system. I don't know. It's just keeping you stuck in this loop. Because once you have the answer in your mind to some question that you're like thinking about, okay, I got an answer to the question, what's the outcome is gonna look like? But what if it ain't gonna look like that? What if there is gonna be some detail that I'm missing? And I don't know, a good example is gonna be like trying to communicate with someone, trying to build a relationship. You're gonna think like, oh, maybe if I'm gonna do this, she gonna misinterpret that, and oh, I don't really know if I want to do that. I don't really know if she's gonna be able to understand if that's something that I'm trying to explain or something that I feel about her. But bruh, you see how this thing is just eating up on your mind, how it's like there is zero result. Overthinking is something that basically brings you zero result and just makes you think even more. So yeah, the real shift begins when you start seeing that overthinking brings you no results. It only postpones the action. It keeps you stuck while you think that you're doing something. That's it. And actually there is a research that shows that people are more often less satisfied with their choice if they can revise it. And there was a study about two groups of photography students. One group who could keep changing their decision about which photo should be printed. And the other group, that decision was final. And those students who could later change which print they kept, they ended up liking their choice less than those whose decision was final. And the conclusion to that study was that more freedom to rethink didn't make them happier, it kept them less settled. So yeah, I hope you can relate to what I was trying to say, because this problem is real shitty, and I don't know. Every time I just wish that everything will be fine and, you know, there's gonna be rainbows and sun and yeah.